in the news on a daily basis, and that is our federal deficit. And many citizens are concerned over the size of the federal deficit, which is currently sitting at roughly $1.3 trillion as of today. And we're going to start with you, Chris, and the question is, do you feel that there is reason for concern that we have a $1.3 trillion budget deficit? And if so, how would you address this issue?
Yeah, I'm very concerned about the $1.3 trillion deficit. I think that there are several proposals out there that make sense. The County Mac-Penny plan makes sense. I think Ryan's plan makes sense. What doesn't make sense to me is the progressive plan. Under the progressive plan is a 12-page plan. You can find it on the Congressional Progressive Caucus's website. It simply says, hey, if you're a millionaire, billionaire, you're going to go up to between 42 to 49% of whatever you earn to the federal government. I cannot find many people within this district who think that that is fundamentally fair. That any individual, I don't care how much you make, has to give up half of their earnings to the federal government. And it's simply un-American, and I don't think that there's a whole lot of support for that. So how do we bring this thing down? Even if we tax these millionaires and billionaires into oblivion, we still do not have a solution for some systemic fixes. But we do need to have systemic fixes, and that's what folks in Washington are talking about. Simpson goals. No matter which plan you were talking about, everyone wants to address the systemic problems. And the primary thing that needs to be addressed is our entitlement programs. They're 43% of the budget, okay? And we need to get those under control. I don't think there should be a college kid or college-age kids on a campus right now who believes that they're going to get Social Security, okay? That was the New Deal, okay? I think we owe the folks here, your grandkids, your kids, your generation, my generation, I think we owe these folks a square deal, okay? And that is, we need to get tough and reform these entitlement programs. We need to look at where the government is spending its money. That's the only way that we are going to get to a point where we have sustainable prosperity and to get this budget back in line.
Same question.
The question is how to deal with the deficit, is that right?
The question is, many citizens are concerned over the size of the federal deficit. Do you feel that there is reason for this concern, and if so, how would you address this issue?
Yes, of course there's a very real concern to have over our deficit. How I would address it is we need to first, I think most importantly, is cut spending. The government needs to live within its means. I think at some point, if you take a look at the tax rate, I think the tax rate optimally, and I don't think it's going to happen today, is 10%. The government somehow has made itself kind of take a lion's share of the profit of every company we have in the United States, and it's not doing very well. It really doesn't make very much sense. So obviously the most important thing is to cut spending and cut waste. We do need to balance the budget. I do believe that we need to keep Social Security. The wrong thing that happened with Social Security is that our government took it out of essentially a trust status and started spending the money that people have been paying for decades into Social Security, which is really kind of a breach of trust by our government. And if they had put it in a trust account and earned interest on it, I don't think we would have any problems paying out what's been we have today. And I believe in free market solutions, and I think that's all I have this time.
Michael, same question. Is our budget deficit an issue? And if so, how would you address it?
Of course, it's an issue, and I will differ with this. First off, we pay for Social Security when we borrow from it. We replace it with U.S. government bonds. Now, if we expect to pay back China, Japan, Germany on the bonds that they're holding, then obviously we're going to pay back Social Security trust funds and the bonds that we placed in there. When it comes to our current deficit, I think we have to look more than 1 year out. We have to look 5 or 10 years out. We cannot be fooled into just an austerity program. There has to be some growth within the budget. We have to find ways to actually encourage businesses to actually do what they need to do, which is hire people, build products, sell things. And we have to actually include that in our plan. You can't just go in and say, well, yes, there are things we can cut. There are things that we have to cut right away, and there's a lot of waste in the budget. We have to find a way to get Medicare under control. Medicare is actually something people are entitled to because they pay into it over a lifetime, and they expect those medical benefits. But that's where entitlements get out of control. It's not Social Security. It ends up in health care. It ends up in programs like, well, Section 8 is nice for a lot of young mothers, a lot of young families, but really we have to start looking toward programs that encourage self-sufficiency. We have to get people actually off the dime and starting producing for themselves, taking care of themselves. And if we need to jumpstart them a little bit, we have to. But we have, like I said earlier that I was involved in the Minneapolis public school system, and this is a school system that has failed. So we have a lot of people out there that aren't equipped to do the jobs that we need to do. So there may be some job training in the future, and we may have to do things to force people into the workforce. And I think that if we look at this as a 5-year plan, that at the end of 5 years now, we will not have a deficit, but we'll have a surplus, then we'll be in much better shape.
Let me just say that 50 years ago, there were 5 workers for every social security. Today, there are about 3. It's just simply unsustainable, okay? In order to sustain...
Can I stop you for just a second
Sure.
and ask you, you're actually getting to my next question. So
Okay.
if I can stop you, and if you can just hold that, and we'll start with Lynn on
Sure.
the next question. That next question that I had written down, because it was something that had been mentioned a couple of times, was entitlements and entitlement spending. And we'll start with you, Lynn. Of the entitlements that the federal government is involved in distributing, if any, which ones would you be in favor of eliminating, or how would you change the entitlement spending?
Well, it's, quite honestly, I think it all starts with family and home and upbringing in the home. People need to be taught, everybody needs to be taught the right values. They need to be taught right from wrong, and, you know, essentially, somehow, it used to be shameful for people to not work and collect unemployment and welfare and things like that, and today, somehow, people don't think that way anymore. Or a lot of people don't. And, I mean, people need to get an education, they need to get a job, they need to take care of themselves, they need to understand that life is not always easy. Sometimes life is hard, and that making a living is a competition a lot of times. You go to, 100 people can apply for a job. And I don't believe that Social Security is an entitlement. I've been paying, a lot of money for many decades. That's things people have paid into. I think it goes back to how people are raised and taught. And if people are raised correctly, they're not going to be looking for entitlements. And so, we need to realize that people need to take care of themselves so that they are not a burden on society, and that they're not collecting unemployment, and that they're not on welfare.
Michael? Same question, entitlements.
We created a society of dependency within disadvantaged communities in our district and across the country. I know people that have, for instance, if they had bought a car that was worth $1,500 that was lost, a big part of their aid. Therefore, they didn't get the car, therefore they didn't get the job. We have to stop discouraging work, and that's what basically we've done with our having this program. It has to be completely retooled, it has to start from the beginning. People who ask for help should be temporary. I always said that poverty is a temporary condition. It's, you know, if you have been in as many businesses as I have had, and there's losses many times I lost, you know that there are times you're just down on your luck, and then you get up and you go and open another business, you go and get another job. But in most communities, that just doesn't happen. We have to start moving people from a position where they're dependent on government for everything to a position where they're dependent on themselves. And it's not going to happen overnight. And it's not going to happen without changes, without real revolution within how we administer these empowerment programs. But you have to really come up with a serious plan on how you're going to move them from a society of dependency to a society where they are on their own.
Chris, go ahead.
Sure, and if I may, what I think is a promise made, what I know is a promise made should be a promise kept. Okay, so in other words, we let this whole generation grow up with the promise of Social Security is going to be there for them. And I think that it should be there for them. And that's why I mentioned the college kids. And we have to start somewhere. We have to draw a line. We have to get all the mathematicians and the actuarials together and say, hey, where can we start and craft up a square deal? I think one of the problems with Social Security, when we talk about which entitlement programs we're going to keep, I don't think that they're all bad, okay? But I think that they have grown, okay, in their scope. What should have been an insurance plan for, hey, if you are out on your luck when you are a senior, we can provide some assistance because we're a compassionate country. That has turned into, hey, everyone's got a right to this thing. And so now we have guys, millionaires, billionaires, guys who retire with $150,000 per year in retirement savings and things of that nature, and they are rightfully, under our current system, entitled to that Social Security check. I would change that. I would work in Congress to redesign that, to say that, hey, you won the game, okay? You retired with a whole lot of money, and so we're not going to try and make it easy by taxing the Social Security benefits. No. We'll make that an insurance program, which is what it was intended for, okay? And so when you do that, you can create a much, much, much stronger safety net, and you can redesign that mousetrap so that when people fall on that safety net, they bounce back up. And to that end, I think we must start, when we look at the Ryan plan, there's several other crucial proposals out there. One is a flat benefit. A flat benefit that says, hey, everyone gets, or the people in real need get a $1,200 check. Okay, that keeps you off of the poverty line. And so that's where we need to go with entitlement planning. We need to look at what we're trying to promote, and we're not trying to promote government dependency. We're trying to promote people to be responsible for themselves. We need to give them a path to be responsible for themselves, and that is through their own individual planning and things of that nature. But we can also strengthen that net when we say that the people who have a real need, okay, the people who have a real need, maybe they're mentally ill, the unable-bodied people, they actually can get support, and the rest of us have to be responsible in our planning for our future.
Michael, 1 minute to rebut.
Social Security is not an insurance plan. It is something we pay into for our retirement. It is taken out of our check without our consent. We've been paying it for this entire working generation, and it's something that we should be expecting. Whether we're a billionaire or a millionaire, it doesn't matter. We paid in, and that's what it is. Unemployment insurance is an insurance policy. We pay into that for in case we find ourselves without a job, but Social Security is not an insurance policy.
Lynn, would you like to add to that, or?
Well, in I'll open up the discussion, they're taking 12.4%, 6.2 from me, 6.2 from my employer, and what I would say is, hey, give me 8% of my own money, okay? The other 4.4% can go to that insurance fund, and that can go to the really, really needy, okay? And I am confident in my ability, free me, let the government free me, to put my 8% into that private account, whether you want to call it the Chilean model, or whatever model you call it. I don't like privatization of Social Security because I believe in a provision to opt out of that, and just say, hey, I'll take government securities. Okay, that'll pay me a better return than what Social Security is giving me. So what I'm saying here is the system fundamentally needs to be designed because it's simply unsustainable.
Thank you.